awesome night in store. Some ladies that would love to share with you how they've utilized their sponsor. And we're going to invite Susie to come up and start our evening off. So why don't you guys welcome Susie as she comes up to share. You want to use this or not?
Hi, everybody. My name is Susie, and I am a grateful believer in Jesus Christ and recovery from codependence. So we're going to do something fun tonight, I hope, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about sponsoring. And my first sponsor was a gal named Marcia. She was a petite, wiry little woman, and she had a ton of energy. And when she hugged you, it was so hard, it literally took the breath out of you. She gave me the basics of recovery that if I still work them, they still work in my life today, 27 years later. She didn't just talk the talk, she walked the walk. And her walk taught me two essential things that I desperately needed at that time. The first was that I can be grateful for the life I have, even if it isn't the life I dreamed I would have. The second was that I can choose not to live my life ruled by someone else's crisis. I eagerly waited every week for Marcia to share in group, but it was several weeks before I got the nerve to talk to her after group. When I did, I thought that she had just been waiting for me to come up to her for weeks. She asked me to stay for a few minutes and help her clean up the room. And as we worked together, we talked. That set up a pattern that we would chat after meetings as we tidied up the room. A few weeks later, I asked her to sponsor me. This was an act of humility from me that to this day I cannot believe I had. You see, at that point in my recovery, my behavior was that I didn't ask people for help, I helped other people. I had no idea what asking for a sponsor would mean, but I knew by now that it was a basic thing to ask someone to sponsor you if you were going to take this recovery thing seriously, and I was. I knew that this was something that was going to be big in my life. After that, I just kind of did whatever Marcia did. I usually saw her a couple times a week at meetings. Sometimes we talked together afterward, but not always. Her availability was limited, so I had to go to meetings to be able to talk to her, and that was good for me. If I was having a really bad day, I would call her, and she would talk me off the cliff. Usually it was my cliff of what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? And she would pray the serenity prayer with me. She was the one that took me through my first step study and made me read my fifth step out loud to God before she would hear it. This moment has been a monument in my recovery that I've shared over and over because as I knelt by my bed and confessed my sins to God and humbled myself, I felt the love of his forgiveness in a way that washed over me like I had never experienced before. There are just a few basic tools of recovery, and Marcia always pointed me to them. It is a simple program that requires making a deliberate effort to do something that we have not done before. First, a commitment to abstain from our addiction and compulsive behaviors. Second, meetings. Meetings restore order in our lives of disorder and get us out of isolation. Third, the telephone. Need I say more? Fourth, literature. Read what is recommended. So I'm not going to harp on that one, but I'd like to. I don't see a lot of reading. Fifth is service. Right now. Not when you think that you're ready. Right now. And finally, sponsorship. Without a sponsor, I lose my commitment to the basics, to meetings and literature, and picking up the phone and staying connected through service. Remember, You have to give it away to keep it. So what of all you sponsors out there who are not sponsoring? Just keeping the bench warm. I'm going to use one of Scott Stubbert's football analogies here. Suit up. People who want to get well need you in the lineup. If you're waiting to be completely healed before you sponsor, then you will never get it. You will never get the growth and satisfaction that comes from this very special relationship. It's not just finding the courage to ask for help. It's also about finding the courage to say yes when you are asked. If I were not making mistakes, how could my sponsees learn that they can make them too? Speaking of making mistakes, I want to ask one of a very special lady in my life to come up. She has done a lot to enhance the growth in my life. So Beatrice, come up and share a little bit about your experience with sponsoring.
Hello. I'm in recovery for codependency. My name is Beatrice.
Hi, Bea.
I came to recovery in 2005, broken, divorced, in a very unhealthy relationship with an addict. Having recently been part of an affair, an abortion, and more, I came full of shame and guilt, believing that I was unworthy and unwanted. It was during my first few weeks here at Celebrate Recovery, while I walked with my head down and avoided eye contact with others, that a kind woman greeted me every week with a gentle smile, a smile that said, "You do matter to me." Her name was Susie, and she invited me to help one night and serve the pie at dessert time. I said yes, but honestly, I was probably too codependent at that time to say no to anything. So I served the pie. Little did I know that this would be the start of a very precious relationship in my recovery and my life. After a few weeks of serving together, I asked Susie if she would be my sponsor, and she said yes. At that time, I was still stuck in a real mess that I had created for myself. I was living with my boyfriend, an addict, in a very dysfunctional relationship, and I could not get myself to let go of him. He had been what I was clinging to for value, significance, and what I believed was love then. I was in crisis, so I called Susie one evening, telling her of all the horrible things that were going on. I will never forget that night. I had chosen to be open and reveal my junk to another person for the first time, and I expected to be punished, shamed, and belittled, but I wasn't. Instead, she listened, she allowed me to shed some tears, and then gently spoke the truth in love. She challenged me to look at what my life had become by putting this man as my idol, and with compassion asked me, "Is this how you want to live the rest of your life?" That was a critical night for me. God was already working in my life, calling me to surrender to Him. And that night, He used my sponsor to challenge me to choose Him, God, over a man. That was about 13 years ago, and my life has never been the same. Since then, I've accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, completed step studies, My relationships have healed and changed for the better. I've even remarried to an amazing Dodger fan. And I now have not only one, but 3 beautiful children. Although the circumstances of my life have changed, the challenges of my codependency and continued need to surrender and make God my number one haven't. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another." I'm thankful for having a sponsor who through time has gotten to know me and knows where my strengths and weaknesses are, and continually sharpens me by pointing me to the true source of value, significance, and love, Jesus Christ. I feel blessed that I've had the same sponsor since entering recovery. And in a way, I know this is a unique and privileged situation, for relationships in life and recovery do often change. In fact, my relationship with my sponsor has changed and developed as well over time. Our availability to meet each other has changed throughout the years. The level of trust has grown as I share more of me. Because we both strive to practice an honest program, our relationship is genuine, honest, and real. Please notice I didn't say perfect because it isn't. Like all relationships, after many years, there have been some times where I've had to go through growing up moments, even with her. And I would like to tell you that I no longer have times when I call her with a big mess in my life and tears, but I still do. I just did last week. Because I am still a work in progress. But despite all the changes and time passing by, there's something that hasn't changed. I can count on showing up here every Tuesday night to our weekly meeting, knowing that she will be here. And one way or another, we will both be serving, practicing our 12th step. And we now both smile to the newcomers because today, they do matter to both of us. If you don't have a sponsor, I want to encourage you to get one. It's one of the greatest blessings you can experience in life. If you have a sponsor, may I encourage you to listen to what they say and take a step of faith by taking their instruction. It has changed my life, and I know that it can change yours. I now would like to invite up here one of the women in my life that I've myself had the blessing of sponsoring, Shani.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shani. I'm a grateful believer, and I celebrate recovery from the effects of past emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Let me put on my eyeballs. I was asked to share about how having a sponsor has been a blessing in my recovery. I would like to start by first sharing with you my state of mind when I walked through the doors as a newcomer. I had the belief that it was not safe to trust anybody, especially women. I had deep trust issues and was not able to let anyone close because I had overwhelming fears of being hurt, judged, rejected, or criticized. But when I came into recovery, I started hearing others share about the peace and freedoms that they were finding in their recoveries. These people all had sponsors and were working their steps. I learned that meeting attendance alone was not the answer. In order to obtain all that this program had to offer, I needed to work the steps. And in order to work the steps, I needed to find another woman who was willing to guide me through them. Well, thankfully, when I entered into recovery, I also entered into building a closer relationship with God. And it was He who gave me the courage to ask another woman to guide me through my recovery. Ecclesiastes 4:9, 2 are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Anyone who knows me also knows that I fall down a lot, and I need that helping hand. Not only has my sponsor helped guide me through the steps and picked me up every now and then, but she has also played a very important part in showing me what true friendship looks like and the gifts that can be received through trusting in others. It was through this relationship with my sponsor that I started to experience the freedoms of letting those walls of distrust come down for the first time in my adult life. It was here that I discovered that there was an inner peace to be found in my being honest about my struggles and shortcomings. My sponsor models what a healthy relationship looks like, a relationship that consists of trust, compassion, and God. This was freeing on so many levels for me. It has helped me to see others and myself in a different light. I learned through this relationship that it was okay to be me. I didn't have to pretend to be something that I wasn't in order to be accepted. Today, my relationship with my sponsor is one of mutual sharing, understanding, honesty, and love. She listens with an open heart and trusting spirit. She leads by example, by showing me how to be kind, how to be patient, how to love, and how to be loved. She helps me to apply the tools that I learn in recovery to my everyday life. I have to be honest, I still get lost and tend to wander down those old roads of self-doubt and controlling tendencies without fully realizing where I'm heading. In these moments, my sponsor is one of the people who is able to redirect me and speak God's truth into my life. Let me share with you an example of what this looks like. I will go to my sponsor with something that I believe that I have processed through and come to the sensible conclusion, and then she asks me those famous words, "Would you like my opinion?" My first thought is always, no. I just told you I took the time to process this, and I came to this great solution. But then, of course, the words that I speak are yes, please. I say yes because I know that it's my thinking that has created the chaos that my life once was. And she asked me if I would like, and when she asked me if I would like her opinion, it's just that, her opinion. She does not try to fix me or control how I handle my situations. Instead, she asked those subtle questions that help me process things and see situations for what they really are, to see my part in things. She challenges me to search my heart and to see things in God's light. And she always, always points me back to the steps in God's Word. This relationship with my sponsor has given me faith in others, and with that faith, I have established relationships with some amazing godly women. These women in my life inspire and encourage me. They open my eyes to the truth, and they love me unconditionally. Never in my life have I experienced such love where I can be real and vulnerable. My sponsor has shown me that I cannot and will not walk this recovery journey alone. I need God, accountability partners, and my sponsor walking beside me because it is a very dark world on my own. With all that I have received from my sponsor, I try to give this back to others. I try to use what my sponsor models for me to encourage and sponsor other women, to listen, encourage, love, and guide them using the steps, principles, and of course, God's truth. Acts of Apostles 20:24. But my life is worth nothing to me unless I use it for finishing the work assigned me by the Lord Jesus, the work of telling others the good news about the wonderful grace of God. Speaking of the wonderful grace of God, I would like to introduce someone that I've had the privilege of getting to know better. She's a true inspiration with her sincere heart and just the faith that she has in her God and in her struggles. Anna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I entered recovery for codependency. When I came into recovery, I'm a little nervous. I've not done this. This is my first time. But when I first came into recovery, I had a lot of control issues and thought that I could fix everyone, and found out that that is not the case. And over time, I learned that I can only change things about myself. I met Shani, my sponsor, at my first step study. I was eager to join it. I heard lots of good things about it. I still thought in the back of my head that that was going to be the answer, though, to helping me fix others. I learned that was not the case, and then everything started to come back at me. When I arrived, I was a bit overwhelmed that day, and I was nervous, and I walked into a room of, that orientation was like 40 women in there. I quickly sat down. I sat down next to Shani, and my future sponsor, and she immediately exhibited warmth, sincerity, and friendliness, making me feel very welcome and a little less nervous, a little more comfortable. After class, she made it a point to talk to me, and she opened it up with her bubbly way of, "So, what you think?" And I don't know, I just told her, babbled about a lot of things, and then I felt bad, but we became friends, and from that day, and so that is the neatest thing is that we became friends, and then over time, she became an accountability partner for me. Then when she was available as a sponsor, I've always wanted her as a sponsor. She's the one that made me feel comfortable, and I was, because of that, because of her grace, and the way she listened, and now I have her as one, and I'm very thankful for that, very grateful. And what I've learned from her is she's taught me a lot about myself. For one, not to be so hard on myself, because I'm really good at that. Not as much now. I catch myself more or less. Another important thing that's been huge, she's taught me to be more confident through God, and that's been a huge blessing for me in my recovery. It's helped me to break out of certain comfort zones and shyness, including talking me into this mini-moni. She's so, yeah, it's like I need that push. And also, I've learned to apply some hard boundaries that I've never imagined that I could. Healthy, but difficult. They're not always easy. And I've learned to go to God for prayer on just about everything. She encourages me through my struggles, points out my growths. I oftentimes don't think I'm getting anywhere, but she does point out when my growths, and reminds me of my humanness, because that's why I'm so hard on myself. I'm just not good with messing up, but so she tells me it's okay, and she's encouraged me to volunteer. I never thought that I would be doing front desk one day, and then I was one day then helping out at the front desk and making name tags. I remember that day, kind of shaky, writing out the people's names. And she's an inspiration to me. I actually looked that up, what it really truly means, and wow. She speaks to me in truth and love, and that's what it says to speak in Revelations and I can't even talk Revelations, but she speaks to me in truth and love. Points out when I have blinders, in the way that she does it, with such kindness and grace, yet firm. And she's very careful to advise. I don't feel bad when she's pointing these things out. Her availability she's always there for me, through whether we meet in person, phone calls, text messages, and she's available. If she's not available for some reason, she makes sure to follow up later or the next day, and that's important to me when I'm going through things or really hard things. And I still try not to. I still have that part of me where I want to try to fix it on my own and think to myself, I can't bother her with these things, but she always lets me know that it's okay. The way she listens, she allows me to share freely, makes our meetings relaxed. And that's so important for me, because I've never really felt comfortable sharing my struggles or when I mess up, really with anyone, not even not even my best girlfriend. There are just things that she does not know. And I've just always been very uncomfortable with that. But I've become more comfortable as I meet with Shani, and she just allows me just to go at my pace and just the way, and that's important for me, and it helps me. She's careful to advise, because I've learned to go more and more to God for my things and pray about my situations and be still and wait. One time it took me 3 days, but I still would, I would let her know what I was doing and how God was speaking to me. And she always says, okay, she says, that's great. If you need to talk, then, I'm here. So then I will call her, and I will go over the whole situation. I would tell her, and I would tell her how God spoke to me. And that's where she says to me, okay, I could make a suggestion or give my opinion if you like, but what you have here is good, and I don't want to interfere between you and God. Now, that's a model. I mean, I can't say enough about having a sponsor and a model, just a model sponsor as Shani. She takes her recovery seriously. She works her recovery. She's active in her service work, and it encourages me. It motivates me little by little. But that just is huge. I don't want to get between you and God. So she has also just taught me to, I'm like getting stuck, but her consistency, she's just always there. It never changes, and this has encouraged me to also give back in that same way to other people as an accountability partner, because of that, it's as an accountability partner, I've given back as well in those ways. And I try to encourage people in that same way, with that same godly love and the grace. She has taught me a lot of grace. So I'm very thankful to God to have a sponsor like Shani, and thankful to God for this program. I can't say enough about it. And thank you for letting me share. So, thank you.
So thank you guys for letting us share tonight. I talk a lot in my testimony about how God has done a thing in this generation that is affecting generations to come. But I just want to share real quickly that in Psalm 68:6, it says, God sets the lonely in families. And so not only as we work our recovery, not only is God doing something in our biological families that will shape the legacy of what we are leaving, but I just want to point out that there are 4 generations of women sitting before you tonight that yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? You don't even think about the impact that you have that is trickling down. And all this from Marcia, who was my sponsor, that none of you have ever met. And to tell you the truth, this is the first time that I really got to spend time with Anna tonight. So, we don't see what God is doing, but he is always working if we will step out in faith. and serve one another. So thank you for letting us share tonight. And we're going to close with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity Amen. Enjoy your groups tonight.